Game of Thrones is one of the most talked about shows in TV history, known for its intense battles, shocking deaths, and unpredictable storytelling. Over its 8-season run, the show gave us many unforgettable moments and powerful performances. But by the time the final season arrived, the tone of the conversation had changed. Season 8 of Game of Thrones was one of the most divisive endings to any major TV series, with fans around the world disappointed by character choices, rushed arcs, and a lack of satisfying closure. Still, even among all the frustration and disappointment, there was one episode that, while controversial, showcased one of the best acting performances in the entire series. That episode is The Bells Season 8, Episode 5. It's widely considered the most controversial Game of Thrones episode ever aired, and not without reason. This is the one where Daenerys Targaryen, played by Emilia Clarke, makes her fateful decision to destroy King's Landing with dragon fire, even after the city had already surrendered. For many viewers, this moment felt like a betrayal of everything Daenerys had stood for. The breaker of chains suddenly became the Mad Queen and people were not happy. But if there's one thing most people agree on, it's that Emilia Clarke absolutely nailed her performance in this episode. Even if you hated what the writers did with her character, there's no denying that Clarke brought raw emotion, subtlety, and sheer intensity to every second of screen time. Somehow, she made Daenerys' drastic shift feel believable, even if the writing didn't support it properly. That's the real magic of The Bells, not the story choices but Clarke's acting. When people talk about The Bells, they often compare it to the series finale, The Iron Throne. That final episode may have gotten the worst ratings, but The Bells definitely sparked more outrage. It was the turning point, the moment when fans realized Game of Thrones wasn't going to deliver the ending they had hoped for. After years of watching Daenerys grow from a scared girl into a powerful leader, it was hard to accept that she would suddenly snap and slaughter innocent civilians. Sure, she had shown signs of ruthless behavior before, but the switch felt too fast and poorly built up. Despite this rushed transition, Emilia Clarke did everything in her power to make Daenerys' descent into darkness feel real. As the bells of surrender ring out across King's Landing, the camera lingers on Clarke's face. There are no words, just her expression as years of grief, rage, betrayal, and loneliness boil over. She doesn't need to speak. Her eyes do all the talking. In that single moment, we can see the pain of losing Missandei, the anger at Jon Snow's betrayal, the fear of being unloved by the people, and the crushing realization that the Iron Throne may never be hers through peaceful means. And then she acts. Daenerys makes the irreversible decision to burn the city. It's heartbreaking, it's terrifying, and it's unforgettable, all because Clarke plays it with such intensity and emotional depth. She doesn't play it like a cartoon villain. She plays it like a woman who's convinced herself this is the only way. That internal struggle, that flicker of hesitation before taking flight on Drogon, is what makes the scene hit so hard, even if you don't agree with the choice. Unfortunately, the rest of The Bells doesn't hold up as well. There are several plot points that feel lazy or out of character. Varys, the Master of Secrets, suddenly gets caught for plotting against Daenerys in the most obvious way possible. Cersei Lannister, the show's longtime villain, dies in Jaime's arms as the Red Keep collapses around them, a death many fans felt was far too simple and gentle for someone so cunning and cruel. These choices added to the growing sense that the show was rushing toward its conclusion without proper build-up or payoffs. Still, the episode's visuals are stunning. Director Miguel Sapochnik, known for other visually breathtaking episodes like Battle of the Bastards, pulls out all the stops. King's Landing is brought to life in incredible detail, only to be torn apart by fire and ash. The horror of war is captured in brutal shots of civilians running, children crying, and buildings crumbling. And at the center of it all is Daenerys, silent, determined, devastating. It's hard not to think about how this could have been handled better. If the writers had taken more time to explore Daenerys' emotional breakdown, maybe The Bells wouldn't have felt so jarring. Maybe if Season 8 had more episodes to properly develop her isolation and loss, this dark turn would have made more sense. But with just 6 episodes to wrap up a show as massive as Game of Thrones, things felt forced. Still, none of that is Clarke's fault. In fact, she made the best out of a bad situation. Despite having little dialogue and a storyline that many fans hated, she gave one of her most powerful performances ever. Her portrayal of Daenerys' emotional collapse and terrifying resolve was so compelling, it almost made you believe in the moment. And that's no small feat. Looking back, it's pretty shocking that Emilia Clarke never won an Emmy for her work on Game of Thrones. Peter Dinklage was the only cast member to receive an acting Emmy, and he won it for Season 8, a season where his character, Tyrion, didn't even get the best material. Clarke, on the other hand, was consistently excellent throughout all 8 seasons. From walking through fire to rallying armies, she brought strength, vulnerability, and grace to one of the show's most iconic characters. Her work in The Bells was the ultimate test of her talent. She had to sell a character twist that many fans found unearned, and she had to do it mostly without speaking. That's the kind of acting that deserves recognition. Whether it's the scene where she stares at the Red Keep with heartbreak and fury, or the quiet moment afterward when she walks among the ruins, Clarke brings humanity to a character the writing had almost abandoned. Even in the series finale, The Iron Throne, Clarke continues to shine. Daenerys may be more emotionless and cold in that final episode, but Clarke still manages to hint at the girl she once was. There's a sadness in her eyes, a longing for a world that might have been. When Jon Snow kills her, it's tragic not just because of what happens, but because of how Clarke plays it, a final breath filled with shock, sorrow, and the echo of lost dreams. Clarke's performance reminds us why Daenerys was such a beloved character to begin with. She was powerful but also compassionate. She made tough choices, but she cared deeply for the innocent. Yes, she was capable of great destruction, but she was also capable of great love. And even when the writers rushed her descent into madness, Clarke made sure the audience still felt for her. That's the power of great acting. It can take a flawed storyline and turn it into something unforgettable. The Bells may not be a fan favorite episode, but it gave us one of the most iconic performances in all of Game of Thrones. Emilia Clarke didn't just play Daenerys, she became her. And in doing so, she helped shape a character who will be remembered for decades to come. Even years after the show ended, people are still debating Season 8. Some rewatch it hoping they'll feel differently. Others stop before the final season altogether. But almost everyone agrees, Clarke's performance in The Bells was award-worthy. It was layered, emotional, and haunting. She made us understand Daenerys, even when we didn't agree with her. And that's why, no matter how controversial the episode was, it still holds an important place in Game of Thrones history.